Can you stick with us to go through NFL scores?
I can, yeah.
All right, let's go. You ready, Joe?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we're going to start it off.
Thursday night.
Yes.
In Houston, the Miami Dolphins visiting the Texans. Texans 42, Dolphins 13. Texans now 4-3, Dolphins 4-3.
All right, the good part about this game, it featured what I call the Council Sports Primetime Player of the Week, and that is Deshaun Watson. Because we sat here last week and we told Deshaun what to do. We told him be careful with the ball, stop scrambling around, and taking hits, be efficient. And that's exactly what he
heard
did.
us.
That's exactly what he did. 239 yards passing, 5 TDs. Lamar Miller followed him up on the ground with 18 carries, 133 yards, 1 TD. Will Fuller, he followed up in the air with 5 receptions, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. And DeAndre Hopkins did his thing with 6 receptions, 82 yards, and 2 TDs. So on the other side, Brett Osweiler only had 241 yards, 1 interception. Kenyon Drake had 58 yards on the ground, 1 TD. And Devontae Parker showed up. He had 6 catches for 134 yards. The only downside for the Texans in this game was that they lost Will Fuller with an injury to his ACL. He's done for the year. But the bright spot was that Deshaun Watson listened to Council Sports. I like to think he listened to the episode, and he got away from that stuff he was doing, the week before when he was all jacked up, lungs messed up, bruised up, and battered.
Deshaun Watson right now on the season, 64% completion percentage, 2176 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 230 yards rushing with 1 rushing touchdown. He's putting together a pretty solid campaign.
Doing a very good job. He started out a little bit slow. They lost some games, but now at the moment they are on top of their division, which is very impressive. And they're doing it too. Their defense is fairly decent, but it's not as good as you would think it would be with J.J. Watt. But
right.
He's literally the man. He's carrying that team.
Right. Texans are looking good. The Fuller injury, I think, the Fuller-Hopkins dynamic has been really, really good.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens now without Fuller.
Well, they've got another guy, Kiki Kuti. He's put in some work the last time that Fuller was out, so he may be able to fill the gap. I mean, when you can play opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, it helps make your life a lot easier.
So check this out. Hopkins, 1 game short of the midway point of the season, 53 catches on 78 targets for almost 800 yards and 6 touchdowns.
He's a monster.
He's a monster.
He's a monster. And I know, did you see the catch where he caught it underneath his leg?
They should have just gave him a catch on that. Did you see that catch, Tim?
I saw that catch, and that play never happened.
It didn't.
In the NFL record books, it never went down.
That play was amazing. And he caught it between his legs.
Pass interference on that.
Yeah, and it was offensive pass interference. And the thing was, they were both hand battling. So if you look at our Instagram feed, you'll see it on there. He said they owe him an apology.
The ref should be fired for that.
Absolutely. That was his Odell moment.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that catch, I think that was tougher than Odell's catch. Because the way he caught it underneath his leg,
caught it between his legs,
falling to the ground, and
caught
it on the other side of his leg.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The Eagles.
Right now.
The Eagles at Jacksonville. I believe this was a London game, Sunday morning. 24-18. Eagles now go to 4-4. Jacksonville falls to 3-5.
Well, all I'll say is Blake Bortles before this game said that he felt like every time they lose a game in Jacksonville, he's a scapegoat and somebody's blaming him. Well, they lost, so they probably will blame him, even though it technically wasn't his fault. The Eagles did pretty good. Carson Wentz did his thing, 21 for 30, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Josh Adams, the rookie running back, had 9 carries, 61 yards. It was a very efficient evening for him. Jordan Matthews, which we haven't heard a lot about in a while, but he had 4 receptions for 93 yards. Blake Bortles, on the other hand, was 24 for 41, 286 yards, 1 TD. He also had 8 carries for 43 yards on the ground. I think he was trying to do everything he could to make this win happen, but it didn't happen. On the ground, TJ Yeldon he wasn't on the ground, through the air. They had 7 receptions, 83 yards. That was TJ Yeldon, and as far as the running game was concerned for them, it was non-existent. They really, right now, are in need of Leonard Fournette, who's out. They need him right at the moment. Otherwise, the whole season might pass him by. And like I said earlier, Doug Marrone did mention that he thought that it wasn't really Bortles that cost him the game. It's that their defense didn't show up again. So,
although Bortles did fumble the first snap of the game, and everybody was like, "Oh, here we go." But check this out: Carson Wentz through 6 games this season, a 70% completion percentage, 1,788 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's almost back. The reason why I'm going to say that he's not all the way back, rush yards, he's only at 89, so it looks like they're making an attempt to hold him back from running. So that he only has 89 yards there. But in terms of his efficiency and his production at this point, it's off the charts. 13 touchdowns, 2 picks, 70% complete. Bortles on the season, 60% complete, 2,021 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 261 yards rushing. So his numbers don't look horrible, but
it's the key moments,
right? The key moments, the turnovers,
key games that he has issues,
right. And we don't have fumbles on this either. So
now Carson Wentz. Getting back to your point, the reason that he doesn't have those rushing numbers is because that's why he got broken up last year.
Exactly,
running and diving and jumping. It's very impressive. But if he gets hurt, Nick Foles is coming back in,
right?
So they're going to be very careful with how they use him, and it's very smart. Let him just throw the ball around the field. He doesn't need to run.
In Chicago, the Jets travel to face the Bears. Bears 24, Jets 10. Jets now 3-5. Bears now 4-3. Both of the Jets starting wide receivers were out, so I anticipate. Well, it was a pretty mediocre game for Darnold.
Yeah, he kind of came back to earth. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it is what it is. The Bears, Mitch Trubisky is really starting to heat up a little bit. I think he's getting some really great play calls for him. He had 220 yards, was 16 for 29, and had 2 TDs. Jordan Howard followed up on the ground for them with 22 carries, 81 yards, and 1 TD. And Tariq Cohen had 1 reception in the air, but it was a big one. It was a 70-yard bomb that he caught from Mitch Trubisky. Darnold's numbers were kind of pedestrian, 153 yards, 1 TD. And they had a gentleman by the name of Deontay Burnett. I don't know if you've heard of him for the Jets. Had 4 receptions, 61 yards.
Mitch Trubisky on the season, 65% completion percentage, 1,814 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 296 yards rushing for 2 rushing touchdowns. He's looking very good, and he's getting better every week.
Very efficient. Started out the year, I was a little bit concerned because I was like, he's looking a little robotic, just throwing the ball down the middle of the field, and somewhere around their bye week, he turned it on. What were you going to say, Tim?
I was saying that's looking pretty good for what you would expect. I mean, the formula for winning, and this was kind of what Jacksonville tried to do, is have Leonard Fournette. You have a solid defense, a strong running game, and a quarterback who stays out of the way. Yeah, and that's the recipe. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, if you're doing it on defense and you don't have an offense like the Indianapolis Colts or some of these New England Patriot teams back in the day. I mean, if you're going to do it, you got a strong running game, strong defense, and a quarterback who can, deliver the ball, make the right passes, don't fumble it, don't turn the ball over, and you'll win games.
Exactly. That'll get you 8. I mean, that'll get you 8. If you got a quarterback, then that adds to that. Now you're talking. But definitely, that is the foundation of winning football. 8-9 wins if you do that every year.
At minimum. Minimum 8-8.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Bucks at the Bengals. This was a close game. Went down to the finish. Bengals get the win, 37-34. They go to 5-3. Bucks fall to 3-4.
Let's get to the good part first, and then we'll get to the bad stuff. First of all, Andy Dalton did pretty good. Had 280 yards through the air, 2 TDs. Joe Mixon followed it up on the ground, 21 carries, 123 yards, 2 TDs. Tyler Boyd through the air had 9 receptions, 138 yards, and 1 TD. And A.J. Green had 5 receptions, 76 yards, and 1 TD. Now to the bad part. I'm going to have to take Jameis' middle name away. famous Jameis is gone now. It's just back to plain old Jameis. He's back to the bench, and I think he has been handed a pink slip. He has lost his job. It was reported today that next week it's already been announced that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter from now on, and that happened before the Monday night game even hit. So they didn't even get to practice to figure that out.
Back. It's magic.
Yeah, it's over.
So would you like to hear the difference between those two quarterback stats this year?
Oh, boy.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
All right, hit me.
Both of them are 4 or 5 games.
Okay.
All right. Jameis is 4 games, and I believe Fitzpatrick is 5 games.
Uh-huh.
Jameis, 148 pass attempts, a 65% completion percentage, 1,181 yards, 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 109-yard rushing with 1 touchdown.
If he could turn them interceptions into touchdowns, he'd be amazing.
He'd be like Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
actually. Fitz, 144 attempts, right? So they're virtually equal in pass attempts, 144 to 148. Fitz has 1,550 yards. That's a plus 400 yards over Jameis. 13 touchdowns. That's plus 7 touchdowns. 5 interceptions. That's minus 5 interceptions.
And I think he had those 5 in that one bad game he had this year when he got benched.
Wow. And 80 yards rushing and 1 touchdown for Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So looking at that, it's just like we talked about last week. Fitzpatrick goes down the field. That's that 500-yard difference.
We talked about it. He doesn't look anywhere but besides Evans. That's it. Mike Evans. He won't look at – well, he does look at his tight end.
Right.
But he doesn't look at Deshaun
Well, he
Jackson.
finally threw one to Deshaun yesterday, and it's a touchdown.
Did he throw to Deshaun or was that Fitzpatrick?
It was him.
Okay.
It was him.
Yeah. Well, it's no need even really kind of going through the stats for the Bucs because you already know what kind of happened to them. But I will say this. Mike Evans did have a decent game, 179 yards, 1 TD, which probably all came from Jameis, but whatever. He played well. And
well, I know Fitzpatrick did hit him on that key drive in the fourth quarter, too. So
I did see a crazy stat where they said Jameis has the most interceptions and turnovers since, what was that, 90-something in the 90s. Sometimes he has like this crazy stat. He's number 1, and I think Blake Bortles is right behind him with the number of picks that they throw. So you could even
he did that in college though. He turned the ball over in college excessively, and it was one of those things where you were just like, man, if this guy could just hang on to the ball and not turn it over, he could win a lot of football games.
Here's that stat.
Turn the ball over, it's a problem.
Here's that stat. It was posted by Trey Wingo. Lawan put it in the chat earlier. Jameis in 49 games, 54 picks and 36 fumbles. 90 times he's quote-unquote lost the ball. Blake Bortles, 91 times he's quote-unquote lost the ball. And I'm not quite sure what that entails because the fumble can be recovered by the offense. So not quite sure what's a turnover there and what's not a turnover, but that's still extremely striking.
But Jameis has some turnovers that aren't just picks. It's like he's being tackled, he's on
Trying
the ground,
to do too much.
and he's throwing the ball. He can't even see where he's throwing the rock. Turnover, fumbles. It's ugly. So remember we had this whole conversation during that draft. It was Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. Who's the one you want to take? And everybody's like, oh, you can't really go wrong. I'm looking now, and I'm like, man, they both might just end up as backups.
Right, but you can't tell because Jameis makes your eyes pop.
His arm is so nice, though.
It's the whole thing.
You know, that's what it is. His arm is so nice that he thinks he can fit it in any window.
Exactly.
That's what the problem is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He thinks he could do anything.
And he doesn't have a defense to help him either. So once he throws that rock, I mean, can you imagine? Maybe if he played with Jacksonville, he might do a little bit better because he will take risks, but the defense kind of has his back.
Man,
with the Bucs, there's nothing.
No, because he still turns the ball over.
20 picks is 20
at an
picks.
Extremely high rate.
I don't care where you go.
You put your defense in bad situations when you're either giving up a pick six or you're giving your opponent the ball with 20 yards to score. It's the same premise. Is that when you turn the ball over, like you said, you don't know if all 90 of those were lost fumbles. But think about it. It's like a holding penalty when you get a long run or a long pass play and you lose. You not only don't get the play, you lose 10 yards. And so now you're beyond where you need to be. And so those losses or those fumbles, they might have gotten back, but they might have lost 6 or 7 yards on it. And so now, again, you're under the gun. You put your offense in third and long situations. You're putting them in bad situations for a football team.
And that's a situation where you have proven that you're going to take too much of a risk at that point.
Jameis, I tried.
100 turnovers, 100 possessions is big in the league.
Right.
I tried to have you back, Jameis, but it looked like I've been overruled, and I think it's not much I can do for you now.
Fitzmagic is back.
Yeah. Unbutton your jacket. Let the chest hair out. It's on.
He's good for 6 picks next week, though. Messing around with Fitz.
Well, they stuck. No. He's going to get you about 2 good weeks.
Woo,
he's going to get your hopes up real good. You're going to be real excited about it.
Right.
It's going to be like the 3rd or 4th week from now.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
He's going to get about 3-4 wins.
I don't know. I think we're at that part of the season now where teams know what they're going to do and who they are. Fitzmagic ain't going to sneak up on nobody right now. We know who he is, what he's coming with. They're game planning him. They announced that he's the starter early. They're going to be ready. They'll be ready. I hope he doesn't come out and have, all the picks that we're talking about, but I think that, it's not going to be early on in the season when he's throwing 5 touchdowns and his eyes looking all spooky.
Tim, the analytics will not back me up on this. But what I will say is we've seen it a million times. He's going to come back. He almost got him to win. He's going to get hot. 2-3 games at the most.
Tim,
and they're going to be looking right back at Jameis again.
Tim, I'm a Jets fan.
Yep.
I'm a Jets fan.
Okay.
Say no more.
Yeah.
All right. Jumping ahead. The Seahawks at your Detroit Lions, Joe. 28-14. Seahawks get the win. They go to 4-3, putting themselves in a pretty nice position at this point. And the Lions 3-4.
I'm going to go ahead and call this the Council Sports butt whipping of the week, even though technically the score doesn't look like it was a spanking. But when I was watching that game, we kept getting beat the same way. Russell did it, but the problem is you're trying to do single coverage on all these receivers all over the field, and they kept beating the same guy over and over and over again. No pass rush, wasn't stopping the run. They ran the ball down our throats like 40 straight attempts. We couldn't stop anybody. Anyway, let me get to the stats. Russell Wilson, 248 yards, 3 TDs. Chris Carson on the ground, 25 carries, 105 yards, and 1 TD. And David Moore, for them, a guy I really didn't know a lot about. Now I'm going to have to look for him on my fantasy team. 4 receptions, 97 yards, 1 TD. Detroit turns people into Hall of Famers, and we get players paid. That's just what we do. On the other side, Matt Stafford, 27 for 40. He had over 300 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, 1 fumble. The thing that I keep telling you about, remember last week I said, if we are going to win in Detroit, Kerryon Johnson has to get the ball. He had 8 carries for 22 yards. That's it. That's your game right there. Marvin Jones, did his thing, 7 receptions, 117 yards, 2 TDs. But, they really, the coaching guys, you need to go back and just look at this whole thing. 30 to 35 touches a game on the ground. What do? That helps your defense stay off the field. You control the clock. You go to the play action and let Stafford do his thing. Not only that, you batter the opposing team's defense, and then by the 4th quarter, now you can just run the ball down their throat.
What was your expectation for the Lions in terms of a number of wins this year?
As a Lions fan, I was trying to be optimistic, but I've been hurt so many times that I'm just like, you know what? At this point,
7.
If we could just be respectable, I'm cool with that. If we get a wild card spot, yeah, good. But I don't really see us going anywhere for real because we don't do the things that we need. You have to establish an identity based upon what you have to offer, and we have not maximized that.
And that's sad because Stafford, it might be arguable, but he's a franchise quarterback. You can't let those guys come and leave with no playoff appearances. You can't just go through a 10-year career as a top 10, top 15 quarterback and never make it to the playoffs.
They'd rather throw screen passes and bubble screens and stuff instead of just running the ball. We're talking 3rd and 2, and you're trying to throw some long pass pattern.
So check this out. This is Russ on the season.
Yes, Russ.
Basically, now given the keys to the car, everybody's gone. Everybody that you came in and they all brought you up, they're all gone, and now it's on you.
It's the Seattle Russell Wilson.
Okay, so he's thrown every pass attempt for the Seahawks so far this year. 65% completion percentage, 1,556 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, only 77 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing that tells me, right? So, Tim, you don't know, but I have a pet peeve with the way that quarterbacks come into this league and they're termed runners when they're not.
Or pocket passers.
Or pocket passers when they're really not.
Right.
Okay? So I'm not going to get into any politics as to why that's the case.
Yeah.
Right? But I used to look at them talk about Russell. Oh, he's a runner. Like, have you looked at the dude never ran in college. He never ran in college. Straight up pocket passer.
And he had a great offensive line in college. You know that Big 12.
Right. Both of them.
They stacked the line.
Well, actually, he went from North Carolina State to Wisconsin. That Wisconsin, and he handpicked Wisconsin. So Russell's one of these dudes with these incredible lives where he graduated from North Carolina State after 3 years and then transferred for his senior, transferred for as a master's student and with 1 year eligibility to Wisconsin. Right? And he handpicked Wisconsin for the offensive line. For I believe it was Melvin Gordon even was the running back, and they were a beast that year. So that's a perfect example of somebody who they call a runner that's sitting here today with no other options on his team offensively with 77 yards rushing while he's tearing you up.
The threat of him
pocket.
running opens up his passing game.
And opens up everything.
Yep. And he
opens up
commits to it. He's reading your defense and doing what he needs to do to exploit you.
Right. So we're looking here at Blake Bortles with almost 300 yards. Nobody calls him a running quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Pocket passer.
Right, pocket passer. In the meanwhile, Russ is sitting here doing nothing but playing out of the pocket with 77 yards rushing.
He's having a good year. And he hasn't turned it on yet. Second half of the year is when Russ turns it up.
Right. He only does what is minimally required. That's why he doesn't get hurt at 5'10", playing that position.
He didn't get touched all last week, and that's the same thing he does every week.
Right.
No concussions, no broken ribs. He's ready.
All right, the Broncos at the Chiefs. Chiefs continue to roll 30-23 over the Broncos. The Chiefs go to 7-1. Broncos fall to 3-5 and may be ready to pack it in.
I think somebody might be on the hot seat there. That coach.
Well, they're talking about trading people tomorrow. So
yeah, they somebody might be about to lose their job. But let's jump right into these stats real quick. Pat Mahomes did what he always does. 24 for 34, 303 yards, 4 TDs, 1 interception. Kareem Hunt on the ground, 16 carries, 50 yards. In the air, 5 receptions, 36 yards. Sammy Watkins had 8 receptions, 107 yards, 2 TDs. And Travis Kelce did what he always does, gets at least 1 TD a game, but has 6 receptions and 79 yards. In the losing effort, Case Keenum, 23 for 44, 262 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Phillip Lindsay carried the ball on the ground, 95 yards, 1 TD. And Cortland Sutton had 3 receptions for 78 yards. There was nothing really remarkable to report about this game, but the fact that the Chiefs continue to roll. And I heard the Broncos coach talking about the Chiefs talking about, like, you just can't make mistakes against this type of team right here. And they're for real.
They're for real. The collision course.
That's not the only thing. I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's not the only thing they said, though. They were complaining about the Chiefs were blocking too far downfield on these run-pass options. So they're trying to file like a grievance with the league that their O-line was too far downfield blocking our men. I was like...
That sounds like some crybaby stuff right there.
Keep doing it until somebody says no.
You can't be mad because they still blocking.
Keep your head up.
Wow.
They're blocking. Yeah, they're blocking. You got to get off your block.
Keep your head up. That's all I'm saying. That run option. You know what's funny? When the run option or read option first came into the league, they're like, "Oh no, don't do it. You're gonna get yourself blown up."
Right.
Yo,
well, they were doing it as a wildcat. So they would bring a running back and let him do it.
But man, as the athletes get better or the quarterbacks get better, that is
all of them.
Dangerous.
Trubisky was killing them with the fakes with that yesterday. All of them. Bortles, all of them are doing it.
Yeah.
You know, the real running quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That they don't like to say are running quarterbacks.
Back in the day,
That's all they do.
Cordell Stewart did that. They laughed at him.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Cordell was the truth.
Yeah.
Cordell was nasty. Slash.
All right. The Redskins travel to New York to get the win against the Giants, 20-13, 5-2 now Redskins, and Giants 1-7. Definitely packing it in and definitely having a fire sale. They're selling right now,
Yeah, and the Lions bought Snacks from them. We got Snacks in the middle,
which is good.
Snacks Harrison, which is a good thing. But to the game, the Redskins are now on top of their division, and everybody's kind of looking up at them. And I did not think they would be in this position. But Alex Smith had 178 yards in the air, 1 TD. Josh Doxson had 5 receptions, 49 yards. And the I don't know what to call him. He's a machine. Adrian Peterson,
AP
26 carries, 149 yards, 1 TD. We were making fun of him the first couple of games of the year. We said I was calling him Adrian Tippy Toes Peterson because you know how the old running backs are tippy toeing because they know how they balance or whatever. Not yesterday. Adrian iced the game on this breakaway run that he did run out a little bit of gas on. I think he could have had one more green smoothie kind of help him so nobody would touch him. But he looks amazing.
Right.
And he said he wants to play 3 more years. And at this rate,
I'm starting to believe it.
I can't say anything.
Tim, you're a
Absolutely
Giants fan. How are you feeling right now about this game and how the season's coming?
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the team is out of whack. You want to say, okay, Pat Shermer just got there, and you know he's a new head coach. You got to give him a little time, and he's starting to remind me of Ben McAdoo from last year.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you think so?
Well, because he came over and he's a defensive guy, and you know, we needed somebody on offense that would come and shake things up. The Giants haven't scored over 30 points in like the last 30 games.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking, okay, you got Odell, you got Saquon Barkley, you got Evan Ingram, you got Shepard, you got Eli, who, while you know, you're like, okay, Eli, we've seen the good and the bad of you, but you give him the benefit of the doubt, like, you got 2 Super Bowl rings. How did we do that? But we gave Eli time. And Eli never had weapons. Here's the thing about Eli, and I try not to be an apologist for him, but the thing with Eli was that, you know, they always used to say Peyton was better than Eli. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, look at who Peyton's weapons were. He had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. Both of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
And a better line.
Yeah, Dallas Clark, Hall of Fame tight end at some point. Might not be first ballot, but he's going to get in.
Edgerrin James.
And you had Edgerrin James.
Yep.
And a decent to good offensive line.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I think with
Eli
Edgerrin
Manning never had any type of Hall of Fame players to turn around and hand it to. If you want to say Tiki Barber, borderline, but I mean, I don't know if you can name some of the wideouts.
He actually didn't even get to play with Tiki Barber. I think they might have had 1 year together.
No, he played with Tiki.
Yeah, I think it was the 1 year,
and then Tiki bounced and started talking trash about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right before, and then Michael Strahan went on and took Tiki's life.
I tell you this though, your boy Odell did show up last night.
He showed up last night,
and he kept all the antics away. He didn't get into it with your boy.
He shows up every game.
Yeah.
And this is why the antics. You know, if you could see me right now, the air quotes are in the air. The antics.
Yeah.
I can live with.
Thank you.
As a football fan.
Do you hear that, Joey?
Somebody that watches the game.
Yes.
As long as he reminds me a little of T.O. In a way of how the media portrays him and looks at him.
Right.
T.O. never got in trouble with the law. T.O. was never caught DUI in it. He was never beating his woman.
That's
true. He was never doing anything off the field. The only thing that anybody said about T.O. was he's a bad player in the locker room. He's a diva. He wants the ball. But when T.O. got the ball, T.O. produced.
He made it happen.
If you look at Odell, if you look at his stats every game this year, you will say this man brings it every game.
Yeah.
There are no days off.
Yeah.
And so if he wants to hit the kicking, net and it hits him in his face, so be it. If he's over there on the sideline crying, I get it. It's a man's sport. We want to be as masculine as possible in this sport. It's violent. If he wants to shed a tear, go for it.
There's a lot of people don't cry and they're trash. So if you can cry and do what he does, I'm cool.
Hey, did you see some of the catches he made yesterday?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I mean, he's making one-handed catches with the wrong hand per se. I mean, and you're looking at him and you're like, how can you not get the ball to him? You look at some of these other teams, Patrick Mahomes throws the ball to these guys, and you're like, how come I can't get him on slant? Because that's his best route.
Yeah.
When he runs slant routes, there's no stopping him. I don't know if there's anybody in the league that's running a slant in Odell. And when you can't get him the ball on the 10-yard slant, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Jumping ahead, the Steelers messed around and got Hugh Jackson fired. They defeated the Browns 33-18 in Pittsburgh. Steelers are now 4-2-1. Browns 2-5-1.
Well, they got Hugh Jackson fired and they got Todd Haley fired. It was two for the price of one. The main thing about this game, it was on the heels of the tragedy that happened over the weekend. So it meant a lot to the city and it meant a lot to the team. Their former community relations manager, Michelle Rosenthal, lost two of her brothers, Cecil and David. So the team they were really into this game and they wanted to get the win, and they came out and played like it. Ben Roethlisberger had 257 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. James Conner did what he did. 24 carries, 146 yards, 2 TDs, had 5 receptions, 66 yards. Antonio Brown had 6 receptions, 74 yards, 2 TDs. There's really no need to look at the other side because we already know what the final say was at the end of the day. Steelers imposed their will and actually came out with the win.
Just real quick sidebar. I just caught a note. 92-50, Golden State over the Nets at the half.
That's not a surprise because the Nets are trying to go for that
92-50.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Right.
The Nets trying to get that Zion Williamson or Barrett pick. That's what they're going for, a lottery.
All right. The Carolina Panthers 36-21 over the Ravens at home. Ravens now 4-4. Panthers 5-2.
All right, we pressed for time. I'm going to run through these scores real quick. Cam Newton was 21 for 29, 219 yards in the air, 2 TDs. On the ground, he had 10 carries, 52 yards, 1 TD. Christian McCaffrey had 14 carries, 45 yards, 1 TD, 4 receptions, 11 yards, 1 TD. On the other side, Joe Flacco had a pedestrian day. 22 for 39, 192 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. And Lamar Jackson popped up, he was 4 for 5, 46 yards, 1 TD. The thing that was impressive about this win is that the Ravens have a top-ranked defense, and they got handled. So kudos to
for the last 2 weeks straight, though.
Yeah.
The Saints got them last week.
Well, the Saints are that. They're the Saints are the Saints.
Right. The NFC is lining up 3, 4, 5 teams that are looking really strong.
Right.
Your schedule, like I said, that NFC South is a problem. Always a problem because usually those 4 teams are really, really tight and bunched up. Especially on that, that year when the Bucks are playing good, which is like every other year. But that's a tough division, and when that's when you have that division on your AFC schedule, it's gonna be tough. The Colts 42, the Raiders 28. This game played in Oakland. Colts now 3-6. No, it's not possible. 3-5. Raiders 1-6.
I just want to know when the Raiders are going to trade John Gruden, but nobody has any idea when that's going to be.
They need to trade him to Monday Night Football for Booger McFarland.
Oh, somebody get Booger off the sidelines.
And the Booger Mobile.
You want Boogers out your nose, and you want him out the stadium because he is not up to par. And I'm sorry, Booger. I mean, you seem like a great guy. Maybe have a drink with you, but definitely don't want to hear you talk about the game. But back to the game. Andrew Luck, 22 for 30.
Let me correct that. While the game is going on.
Yeah.
I can mess with Booger the day after.
Yeah, but Booger,
not while the game's going on.
Well, first of all, I don't really want to hear a sideline correspondent that sits down. He sits the entire time. He might as well get a hover round and just roll around. Like, are you kidding me? Anyway, whatever. I'm not in charge of that kind of stuff. That's the production team for ABC. But Andrew Luck was 22 for 31, 239 yards, 3 TDs. Marlon Mack had 132 yards on the ground, 2 TDs. And Jack Doyle has 70 yards in the air and 1 TD. David Carr, he tried. He did a little bit better this week. 21 for 28, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns. Carr also ran for 1 TD. Doug Martin came out of purgatory. He had 13 carries for 72 yards. Jared Cook had 4 receptions, 74 yards, and 1 TD.
All right, the game of the week, potentially the Rams and the Packers. Packers take the loss. They had a chance. They had an opportunity to get the ball to Aaron Rodgers for the last possession. That didn't quite work out.
Somebody had other plans.
The Rams get the win. They 29-27. Rams are now 8-0. Packers 3-1. Joe, you give me the stats, and then we're gonna let Tim take 30 seconds to give us the LA feedback.
All right, we'll run right through it. I said the Rams are the best team in the league because they can beat anybody because they can change up their way to win. So, Jared Goff yesterday, 19 for 35, 295 yards, 3 TDs. Todd Gurley had 25 carries, 114 yards, 6 receptions, 81 yards, and 1 TD. Aaron Rodgers on the other side, even though the stats look a little lopsided, he played very well. 18 for 30, 286 yards, 1 TD. Aaron Jones had 12 carries, 86 yards, and 1 TD. And Devontae Adams had 5 receptions for 133 yards. Before I hand this over to Tim, I just have to say this real quick. We all saw the fumble. It was a pivotal point in the game. Ty Montgomery had the fumble. The controversy unfolded today via social media. Apparently, Ty Montgomery was upset about his usage during the game and where he fits on the team. And I think they pulled him out of the game and put somebody else in. And they said he had a little tantrum on the sideline, threw his helmet down, was upset. As a result of that, he ends up being the kick returner. They put him into the game. They told him specifically, Ty, take a knee.
They told him
to take a knee.
So you mean they laid out the Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback scenario?
What they said was take a knee. According to him, he says that he saw where he was. He said it was kind of close to where the end zone and the field meet. So he's like he wasn't really sure. So he decided that he was going to bring it out. He called Omaha, did his own thing. And not only do that, he ran out of the end zone and proceeded to try to lay a hit on somebody, and they laid a hit on him, and the ball fell out. And that was that. So everybody's talking about like they're so upset with him. Aaron Rodgers is upset with him because like why would you do something like that? So he may be the somewhat same place that Hugh Jackson is at the end of this. But Tim, did you see that?
I saw it, and at the time that it was happening before, the whole controversy hit as far as taking a knee, it was the smart thing to do was to take a knee. Because obviously Aaron Rodgers, you got 2 minutes and 5 seconds left on the clock.
He turned all day.
Bring it out to the 25. Aaron Rodgers, who is known for throwing Hail Marys, needs to only get you in field goal range, though, because they only lost by 2.
Right.
So you're basically giving him 2 minutes to get 40 yards, maybe 50 if you want a chip shot. And so that's the smart thing to do. The thing here that I don't know if a lot of people have touched on is if he fumbled on purpose.
Ooh.
Because if you knew you were supposed to take a knee and you were like, I'm near the line, I don't know, I'm going to still come out. That hit, I've seen people fumble with less, but
I was surprised that it even fell out. It was weird. He didn't even get hit in the head.
It was weird. It didn't even look like he really hit the ball hard enough for it to come out. And then it comes out, it pops out. The Rams fall on it. Todd Gurley goes, and one of the most unselfish things, because I know you asked me, what the feeling was in L.A. about it, was that Todd Gurley, who is on my fantasy team, God bless his heart, he turns that corner, and he basically lays it down. He shifts down. He doesn't run out of bounds. And instead of scoring a touchdown, they won by 2. You add another 7 to that. You're at 9. So they basically, even if Aaron Rodgers goes down and throws a Hail Mary and they scored a 2-point conversion, they lose by 1. right?
But you still can't trust
He
Aaron Rodgers.
still-
We've seen this happen.
He still sat it down because he knew that they would run the clock out, and the game would be over. That is one of the most unselfish plays that you can ever make in a game.
That is so ironic because
did
the player on the other side was all of a sudden selfish.
Because he was
And
upset
blew the
about
game.
his position
Yeah.
on the team.
Yeah, because he was uncertain about his position. You think about that. He was uncertain about his position, and then this generation, it's all about me. We're on social media, me, and he was uncertain about his position. So instead of doing what he should have done to solidify his position, he did the exact opposite. We don't know if he fumbled on purpose. We don't know if he really just was that defiant or if he really thought, okay, I was too close, so I didn't want to take a knee. And then you have on the other side of the ball, possibly this year's MVP. He's definitely in consideration for it.
I want the ball in his
the
hand.
most unselfish play
Right.
that you can think of.
Yep.
Right.
And
All right.
that's why the Rams are winning. That's why they're 8-0. That's why their fan base is growing. And that's why you line them up on Sunday against any team in this league, and they're not going to be underdogs.
Nope. Even
They
with
might
that,
not win every game,
even
but
with
they're not
Talib,
going to be listed as underdogs.
even with their injuries and stuff they have right now, they're still good, man. That team is amazing.
All right.
The roster was put together well. And Sean McVay is going to get a lot of people fired.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not talking about from his team. I'm talking about other coaches because he's steamrolling them,
Yeah.
making them look real bad.
The 49ers traveled to Arizona to face the Cardinals in what was supposed to be the horrible game of the week. Turned out to be an excellent game.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it. The Cardinals pulled it out in a last-second drive. They get the win, 18-15. Cardinals are now 2-6. 49ers 1-7. Josh Rosen, 23 of 40, 252 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a very impressive game-winning drive where he started to actually throw the ball to Larry Fitzgerald, something that we've been talking
We
about.
talked about it last week.
Larry Fitzgerald, 8 catches, 182 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's about time. That's the difference between a win and a loss.
Didn't we say it? We said give him at
Yes.
least 10 targets a week, and you give yourself a chance to win on most Sundays.
Right.
So they're playing San Francisco. Comes out 102 yards, 1 TD.
David Johnson also had 16 carries and 59 yards rushing.
Yeah.
The Saints and the Vikings. The Saints get the win. Vikings are now 4-3. Saints go to 5-1, 6-1. Saints go to 6-1, so this, with a 30-20 victory. Kirk Cousins, 31 for 41, 359 yards. Mark Ingram, 13 carries for 63 yards. Stephon Diggs, 10 catches, 119 yards.
Yep. It's a good night.
Can we put up the NFL standings real quick just so we can get an update on where we are with the standings? What's standing out? Patriots 5-2, standing firm in the AFC East. Buffalo Bills are done, that we know. Cleveland, while they've played well, they fall to the bottom of the AFC North, and the Steelers have risen to the top, percentage points above the Bengals because of the tie. Steelers 4-2-1, Bengals 5-3. Both of those teams are looking solid for the playoffs. Baltimore in third place, 4-4. The Redskins in the NFC East are 5-2, sitting pretty. The Eagles are starting to warm up. They're at 4-4. Cowboys had the bye week. They're sitting at 3-4. Can't wait to see them with their new wide receiver and see how he fits in. NFC North. Bears 4-3, Vikings 4-3-1, Packers 3-3-1, Lions 3-4. That fourth loss for the Lions is the only thing that's separating them from fourth place to first place.
Key thing about this division, there's a lot of interdivision games coming up in the second half of the year, and that's going to determine who comes out on top because everybody's going to have a similar record by the end of this thing.
NFC West, Rams sitting pretty at 8-0. Seahawks solid position in second place, 4-3. Cardinals and 49ers are thinking about the draft. Saints in the NFC South with a real good position, 6-1. Carolina right behind them, 5-2. Tampa Bay Looking for some Fitzmagic next week, and Atlanta's also looking to pick up some steam. AFC West, Kansas City, 7-1. Chargers holding steady position, steady wild card position at 5-2 currently. Broncos 3-5. Raiders are done.
You think so? You think they might make a comeback?
Raiders are done.
All right, I'm going with that.
They've already started selling.
Yeah.
In the AFC South, Houston 5-3, having now taken a 1.5 game lead over the Titans, who are now 3-4. Jacksonville and the Colts are both at 3-5. So looking very solid, headed into the second half of the season is the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're pretty much on a collision course at this point with the Rams.
Nah, their collision course is gonna be New England. That's where their collision course is gonna be.
Tim,
yeah, but they'll more than likely be playing in New England at home.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's gonna be tough.
It's different when you go to Foxborough and got to play them in the snow. And
yes.
You go to KC, it's a little different.
Yeah.